screens on there as well. I'll figure that out at some point.
All right, you can start.
Okay. Welcome to the August Member Forum with our new microphone and our new AV system. The first thing I'd like to talk about today is COVID and COVID restrictions. As you know, we have a Moderna booster shot lined up for September the 29th, and we'll be giving those all day as well as the flu shot. Questions have come up. Is that safe? The pharmacists and the CDC assure us that it is safe to do those on the same day. However, if you're personally concerned about it, you can go ahead and get a booster at any time and then get the flu shot on flu shot day. So those are options. We're encouraging you to do it all the same day or earlier if you have concerns. We have had a breakthrough case of positive tests for people who have been vaccinated. In one case, they had been out to a restaurant and think that's where their exposure might have been, because it was 4 days later that they began to have some symptoms, minor symptoms, but symptoms. And the other one had had family visit, and the family had visited about 4 to 5 days before as well. So there is some danger. The danger typically is, can you get her a mask? Okay. The danger typically is when masks are not worn or when you're in public areas of exposure. So that is what we're experiencing. If you are vaccinated, we will notify you if there's been any exposure or contact. However, the CDC does not consider exposure as long as you're masked. So, as we well know, mask, social distancing, and limiting exposure to public areas, and frequent hand washing. Don't forget the frequent hand washing. That's one that kind of dropped off the radar there, but that's really important. So we'll continue that vigilant effort on all our behalf. Because we did have this exposure, we are limiting the dining room to 2 people per table for about a week, as long as everything goes well. We should only have to do that a week. And what did we decide on the bar? We're closing it? No, we're not closing the bar, but we will have 2 people per table for the bar as well. So we'll ask you to just do the 2 people per table in any setting without mask, and masks for all activities or anything that goes on in the clubhouse, or even if you're having any kind of a function, which we discourage in your home. So hopefully we'll get through this little bump and have a better understanding. We'll be able to get the booster vaccine out to everybody. There was encouraging news yesterday on the Johnson & Johnson that with their booster, they believe it'll be even the strongest of the 3 when their booster comes out. And the Johnson & Johnson, as you remember, kind of came on late, so their 6-month period is later as well. For the most part, we all had the Moderna. The experience there should be good with the booster. I think we're in really good shape there to experience that. Any questions about what we're doing? Yes, sir.
The person who was exposed positive, were they tested with the quick 15-minute test?
Yes.
Because that test is not as reliable as the longer tests, so were they subsequently tested again with the test that takes 3 days for results.
No. We'll be doing the rapid test.
So you're saying that their positive may have been a negative?
It could have been, except there are symptoms.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking for, is symptoms. The reason they wanted to be tested was because they were symptomatic. Okay? Low energy and runny nose were the symptoms when they were tested. Then they tested positive. So it's really cautionary. Yes, you're correct. The rapid test is not as accurate as the 3-day test, but that's the one we're using. Yes, Ms. Taylor.
I have Spectrum coming today to look at my television. Is he required to wear a mask in our apartment?
Yes.
He is.
Did he?
I don't know. He doesn't come to one.
Okay. Well, don't let him in without one.
Yeah.
You can send him down here to get one. Okay? Yes, sir.
CDC said that booster shots can be given 6 months after.
Correct. Yeah, so if you would like to have your booster early, feel free.
But you'd have to go somewhere else then, not here.
Yeah, you could go to Burke's and probably CVS. Yeah, which is not a bad idea if you plan on doing any kind of traveling or anything like that. You may want to go ahead and do it a little early. Yes, sir.
Burke's is currently out. They request you call ahead before going.
Right, good point. Yeah, I would call ahead wherever you go. I mean, I know my younger son panicked a couple of weeks ago because he'd been to a concert that coincidentally was named Widespread Panic. And so after it, one of the performers tested positive, so he was sure he had it. So he went out and tried to buy the Binax test and couldn't find them anywhere. So he finally did get it. He went to the doctor, got tested negative, everything was all right, but he had a hard time finding the test. We do have tests available, but we will test you only if you have symptoms. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to have the bridge Friday?
Yeah.
Yes.
If bridge people, bingo people, canasta people, pinochle people, poker people will wear masks, we will continue. If there becomes defiant unmasking, we will discontinue. That is the key, is to keep mask. Once you're vaccinated and masked, you should be safe. It's when you go into public areas unmasked that it becomes unsafe. Okay?
What's the difference of the dining room then and the bridge? We can only have 2 at a table at the dining room, but 4 at the bridge. What's,
Because you have a mask.
I beg your pardon?
You have a mask at bridge. Okay. The question was, for those viewing, why can you have 4 people at bridge and only 2 people at dinner? The answer is, at bridge, everyone should be masked, and at dinner, you're unmasked. Therefore, we're trying to create a little distance to keep everybody safer. And we should have those results within a week to be able to let you know if we can increase the number of people at the table. Okay? Any more questions about COVID? I have plenty. Okay. Thank you all for bearing with us. We would ask that you try to limit outside visits from family and friends, off-campus trips to necessity. Think really hard about going to a restaurant and avoid it. Use us for your grocery shopping. I know Joy loves that. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to us about that. we'll be glad to talk to you. So hopefully we can be back to normal in a week. Is that right, Carrie? Okay, that's good. All right. We have 25 sales for the year to date. And we thank you all for participating in that, welcoming new people and having fun even though we're in the middle of a pandemic. We are planning on going forward with our 25th anniversary party on October 22nd. And we are planning on having guests. All of that subject to change depending on how the next month and a half goes. Our employment is increasing. We brought on 9 new people in the last couple of weeks, so that is helping us a lot. That includes the care center as well. Our staffing is much improved. We are still debating solutions to a speed bump that is of issue at this point. As you know, on Tide Point Way, there is a speed bump that is right at a crosswalk, but apparently early in the morning it makes noise because the trucks don't slow down that are delivering food, and it makes a noise. So we're looking at some alternatives to that, including everything from taking it out and putting signage in, to putting rumble strips, to leaving it like it is. So that requires further study. Did I get that right, anybody who's on that committee? So we thank you for that. Other than that, I can start with our brand new screen, which is really awesome. You just go over here, the screen comes down, the lights come on. It's just amazing to me. So this is our Finance Committee meeting results for the end of July. Am I moving around too much?
No.
Okay. All right, our total investments in our reserve fund are at $2,169,000. As you know, we are anticipating our full-scale renovation of the clubhouse. Most of that will start next year. Some will start toward the end of this year. We'll have renderings, etc., so you'll be able to take a look at it. We did have a presentation several weeks ago to the board of directors and also to the refurbishment committee, and they were able to see the change, the theme, the colors, etc., that are being planned, and the reception to that was excellent. So that's where our funds are at this point in the reserve fund. We do have expenditures each month from the reserve as well as a contribution. The contribution is just around $100,000, and our expenses for this month were only $68,000, so we did increase the reserve somewhat. We only had 2 air conditioning units replaced, which is really good for August. You know, August usually is where it jumps up. We had the remainder of the Lifeline pendants, so all pendants are out, and they seem to be working well. If you have any questions, you can call member services or you can call maintenance, and they'll make sure things are functioning correctly. We had some window replacement and the glass door replacement. We had 2 roof replacements on Spruce Court. We've had some IT replacement. The lighting on the corner of Freshwater and Tide Point Way, have you noticed at night the difference in the lighting? Can you see the intersection now? This is something we've tried about 10 different tricks over the years. This is the most current of those. It's real electricity. And a small amount on the clubhouse refurbishment related to the first attempt and the presentation to the board and the finance committee. Okay, our contributions to the reserve so far this year, as I said earlier, we contribute about $100,000 a month, just under that. And so this year we've had $741,000. We've spent about $749,000, but we are favorable to budget on the projects that have not been completed yet by $227,000. So we had anticipated the reserve dropping a little bit, which we have not experienced yet. Okay, year to date through July, our revenue has been very strong. The 2 months fees from closing that go to the reserve are greater than anticipated, as you can see, by about $20,000. Also, food and beverage revenue is a large contributor to that. And so our net operating funds are favorable by $74,000. However, our expenses have continued to increase. Large areas of that are food and labor. So we've experienced some increases in food costs, as I think you may have seen as you've gone to the grocery store. And just availability of certain items has been tricky. So you will see some changes in the menu some weeks to adjust basically on availability of food. So food represents a large piece of that. And then some hourly positions, we adjusted the pay on those positions to get back into the market. And so those adjustments appeared in July. So we have a deficit of $94,000 so far. We anticipated having a deficit of $84,000 at this point. And so we're about $10,000 unfavorable to the budget at this point. We will see the food costs improve somewhat over the last 7 months. We've got some plans to do to make that work better. And then the labor also is improving. We'll have a lot less overtime, regular staffing, and then also some non-replaced positions. So that should improve that. As you can see, our revenue has been strong. Our operating expense by department in culinary, about $70,000 or $10,000 a month average, is food. The other part of that is labor. And you may have experienced in dining services our attempts to have enough staffing there. Laundry and housekeeping is really a labor adjustment. Member services was some expenses earlier in the year, and those are non-reoccurring. Maintenance, again, a good piece of that will be recovered due to when closings happen and we collect on work done in the apartment managed by us. We'll see savings in that. So that is really timing. except for a little bit of propane in there for several months was high. That's back in line now as well. The Wellness Center and administration are favorable. And then our insurance is slightly higher than anticipated. When we budget the insurance, we haven't got the final statement on that usually till January or so. And then human resources is favorable, and we'll see a little bit more favorable results there. With the closing, or the opening of the Cross Island Parkway, we've turned in over 100 transponders, so we'll be credited for those by the state. And we won't have the ongoing expense of having those transponders for employees who are coming from off the island. Any questions on the financials at this point? 7 months in? Okay. Just to show you how lovely this is. If I can get there. There we are. That's operator error. Okay. Come on. There. This is what the screen looks like when you're not connected. And what I had hoped to do today was to even show you that presentation on the telephone. And so I'm going to make a quick attempt to be able to show you how it can even work with the telephone. Excuse me. It needs to recognize my face. Okay. There. So I'm going to make an attempt to broadcast this from my telephone. With a simple 4-code name. And anyway, it does work with the telephone as well, so you can put anything on your telephone up there and broadcast it as well.
Tom, a point about facial recognition to sign into your phone, it's not recommended, because somebody has a good photograph of you can sign in.
Well, now you're scaring me.
Just warning you.
Okay. There we are. Okay. So now, what I did this morning, just to give you an example of this, I sent myself a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, and so I was able to do that off the phone. What I was hoping to do was enlarge it full screen, and to do that I have to open an Office app, and to do that I have to remember my Apple passwords. So it was human error. This thing works great, but what I was hoping to do was do it full size, which can be done. So what you can get is the full size of that as well. So that's what I did yesterday afternoon. And so it'll take you back to that. So you should be able to do this even on your telephone, which is pretty amazing. Another thing we're working to understand is you can do 2 or 3 screens or 4 screens at the same time. And so once I figure that out, I'll let you know that one too. So, are there any questions about anything going on at Tide Point? Yes, Mr. Fenstermaker.
What plans, if any, do we have right now for evacuation if it's needed?
Okay, that's a great question. The question is, for those at home, what plans do we have for evacuation if needed? Appropriately asked, there are 3 storms right now in the Atlantic. There were 3 last week. So we will continue to see that probably on through November. We do have arrangements with hotels in North Augusta as well as Augusta. So we recommend people go on their own, have their own plan. However, if you are going with us, if you have mobility concerns, need to take a bus, etc., and are going to the hotel we're going to, we will keep you apprised of that. But we do have specific hotels that we have arrangements with. As you're aware from the past, those can fall apart in a minute because it's based on availability. So those of you who have been through hurricanes with us know that we will get you a place to stay, but it may not be what you imagined. So is that good enough? But we do have plans in North Augusta as well as Augusta for some hotels. We won't have the dining experience you were able to have at the Ramada unless we're at the Ramada. Most places will be in charge of their own dining. So we will provide at least 1 meal a day for you, and if you go with us, or save your receipts. If you go somewhere else, just save your receipts and turn those in. If you've done this in the past, you know you get reimbursed in a very reasonable manner. So, yes, ma'am.
Is Ramada we stayed in before, is that one of the ones in the mix?
It could be. The only good news about the Ramada is it has rooms available. And in a storm, that's critical, you know. So we are continually through the season contacting the other hotels, making sure we're on their list, etc. But also, as you know, when a storm is approaching, at a certain point, people start reserving rooms all over the place, and that can hurt our chances. We try to go early. We try to reserve early, but there is some reservation panic that goes on several days before even announcements occur. So that's something that our Member Services Department works on starting really about April through November. Okay, good question though, Mr. Fenstermaker and Mrs. Wiles. Appreciate that. Anything else for the good of the group? Yes, sir.
Question. Are you planning to continue to show, to videotape the presentation? I know you're doing it today.
We are live.
You're live, right?
Yep, and we'll be doing it again at 2 and 4, correct?
It's shown on, it'll play on channel 1391, again at 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. You can also go to your app,
Yeah.
under Tide Point Videos, under the icon Tide Point Videos, and select Member Forum, and every month I post the new Member Forum for that month.
Are you going to tape it every month?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, for those at home, the question is, when can we watch this other than this live performance? At 2 o'clock and 2 and 4 o'clock today, it'll be broadcast on channel 1391 and anytime on the app. We'll always have the fresh member forum on the app for you. Okay, thank you. That was good. Anything else for the good of the group, including your friends and neighbors at home? Thank you for coming.